American citizens standing up to fight the onslaught of Joe Biden's America. Tonight's segment, we have border wars, and we're bringing in three of the most incredible human beings who are out here on their time and dime fighting for you and me to protect us and our sovereignty, to defend the Republic of the United States of America. Joining me now is Tim Foley with Arizona Border Recon, Mike Miller with Warriors for Ranchers, and Joe Cruz, Texas United to Save the Republic, also precinct chair, captain of 198. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us this evening on the very important segment.
Thanks for having me.
All right, let's get to it because, you know, our border has exploded. Joe Biden has allowed up to 2 million people coming across this border, and I don't believe they have the intention to do anything good except bring drugs, sex trafficking, child sex trafficking, and, of course, disrupt our republic and our way of life in terms of how we vote. I want to start with Tim Foley because this is where it all started for producer Liz and I down in the Arizona border when we first did our escapade down to see you, Tim, last summer in 2020. And what we saw blew our minds, and today, arguably, it's blowing minds worldwide. Have things gotten better for you down there?
Well, it all depends on what you think is better. No, it's becoming worse. In the past month, we've now had 2 firefights on the border between rival cartels. Last night, we had a small plane crash about 5 miles east of me. We're having groups of 100 plus to the west of us of unaccompanied children. 3 days ago, the only checkpoint still left open just seized 50 pounds of fentanyl pills. I can go on and on and on. I mean, it's getting worse and worse and worse. It's insane.
Mike Miller. Yeah, you know, Tim, it's awful. And you're out in Arizona. You're sitting on a lot of public land, which gives you the ability to be a little more flexible. Mike Miller and Joe Cruz are down in Texas, where most of the land is privately owned. They have additional challenges because of private ownership. Mike, let's go to you because you have brought and shown some of the most salacious material in terms of savage killing that's going on down there, children that are being left behind. I know we have some video clips that producer Liz is. I'd like to roll some of these while you're talking, specifically the one of the little kids that were just dropped off. But Mike, walk us through some of what you're seeing down there in terms of just the destruction of our sovereignty.
Well, I have a new term I want to use. You know, we hear everybody calling this an invasion. This is planned terrorism is what it is. The cartel has been doing this for years, bringing people across. Tim's seen them coming from the Arizona side. We're seeing them coming to Texas. And what we're seeing is an abuse of identification in a lot of cases where we have these folks that are saying they're from Haiti, that are Haitians, but they're not. They're actually from Chile. And Ben Berkwam with Steve Bannon's show just took a whole ton of IDs, I believe it was yesterday, to the National Guard to show them, like, these people are saying they're from Haiti, but they're actually from Chile. They're also learning that if they say they're a family unit, like their cousins or their brothers, or they're carrying a baby with them, they're a parent. And what we're seeing is children are being recycled at the border. The children are being given, yes, they're being given them births that's taking place underneath.
What are we seeing here? Is this a live birth happening at the border?
No, that's actually a preemie baby that was 1 month old. It was born at 7 months, and now it's 1 month old. Being taken off a boat that's on the left-hand side at the bottom of that ridge there. And the National Guard is actually taking the people off that raft and putting them on U.S. soil.
Joe, you're telling us that the National Guard is actually aiding and abetting illegal immigration into our country?
They indeed are. They're communicating with the cartel. I watched them the last time I was there, communicating with flashlights to let them know that they were ready. Then the boats came, and the guardsmen were there assisting the coyotes take the people off the rafts and put them on U.S. soil so their feet wouldn't get wet.
This is devastating.
And I can second that because Joe's witnessing it. I'm going to second that because what's happening is our National Guard has some folks that speak Spanish, and they are communicating with the cartel. And I actually have video on my Facebook. I didn't present it today, where they're asking them, can you guys just bring the people tomorrow? We'd like to take the day off. This would be our National Guard saying that. And the cartel said no because tomorrow's Barbacoa Wednesday, and we're going to be celebrating tomorrow. So the cartel and the National Guard were communicating back and forth. And just like Joe said, they're using flashlights, red and green. Red means don't bring people. Green means bring people. And we're watching them communicate. It's ridiculous.
All right, so we've seen some footage of them
hold
leaving
guard.
babies. We've seen some footage of them leaving babies. I just want to roll this because this is so startling. It's a picture right here where you'll see a little baby in a bassinet, and I don't know if that's a relative child to the baby or not, but they're just being dropped off. Who is dropping these people off? Who is dropping these kids off?
So when you get these,
and who's picking them
breakup
up?
season. It's breakup season at the borders. What Anthony Aguero and I were saying. It's a lot of single men with a bunch of kids, and the kids are sedated. You guys, they're giving them some kind of shot where they're not making noise. They're almost lifeless. One of the fathers picked their arms up, and their little arms just flailed to their body, and they're giving them something to calm them way down, and it's almost like they're barely here. But these children are being used as a family unit type situation. Now, some of these kids are used for other things, child smuggling, whatever. But in this case, somebody came across the border to look like they're a family unit. They dumped the kids in the brush and ran. So this is very common. It's not the first time I've witnessed this. They've done it on Kate Hobbs Ranch in Texas, where they left the 5 little girls I told you guys about, where the one little girl was almost dead and she was dehydrated. And now you see in this, these children, Tim can also relate, where they're not just doing this once. Sometimes these same kids can be used multiple times crossing the border. They'll just put them in different clothes, and they'll say they're the parent. They come across the border, treated like a family unit. They get released, and then they dump the children.
It's a prop. They're rented props, is what they are.
Yeah, this is so incredibly disturbing because there's just so much footage we need to just roll while you guys are talking because the amount of disturbing images. Okay, so what's happening here? Who's that?
So Daily Caller witnessed this here. So this is a cartel member on the left-hand side. As you can see on his hip, he's got a gun. Daily Callers is bringing this guy through. Look at his backpack, how full it is. We believe the person that he's escorting there has drugs, and the drugs are in the backpack. He's telling them to put their phones down or he's going to shoot them. And so Daily Caller actually fled the scene. They ran, and they managed to have their phones and everything with them to expose this guy. That guy's a member of the cartel, and he is fully armed, as you guys can see, and he would have taken their life for nothing if they wouldn't have put the phones down. And so people are risking their lives, just like we all are right here, to try to expose this truth. It is a planned terrorism, and these folks know what they're doing. And our government is allowing this to take place.
And I'm glad you said that, Mike, because I put that in my resolution that to bringing people in that would increase the violence and illness due to COVID and whatever else that they've got. Knowing that you're bringing these people in and putting Americans at that risk for a political purpose is the very definition of terrorism. And that's what your national government is engaged in right now. It's terrorism against its own citizenry.
So, Tim Foley, down in Arizona, when Liz and I were there, we saw a lot of evidence of the Soros-funded entities funding these American humanitarians on the United States side of the border to bring supplies, nutrients, water, food to the illegals and the cartel-driven illegals that are coming in with children and with drugs. Again, is this American-funded terrorism or is this international-funded terrorism using Americans? Is this true foreign interference?
It's both, because Pima County, where I live, which is the liberal stronghold of Arizona, gives a humanitarian organization called No More Deaths. They give them $25,000 a year grant. So the politicians locally are helping this continue. And I've always said that if you can stop them from putting the food and water out, we would knock down 85% of the traffic that's coming through in this area. And in my area, I have over 200 water drops GPSed in my area. So it's a well planned out and well funded. It's incredible. And I mean, it's like that water drop there. That's got to be, they had to hump that in easy mile just to get it to there.
How many people do you see actually bringing these water drops in? Because I know that on these trails that we've walked, we've actually seen people, and they look like just ordinary hippies that are out there to do good things, but apparently the good things they're doing is leading the bad people in with the bad things. Have you ever confronted these people with these humanitarians, as they're called, down where you live? Because they're bringing this supplies in where the wall ends because it's easy access for the cartel.
Yeah. We ran into a group of women that were putting them out as we were going up the trail, because basically they also help show us where the activity is, because they don't put, I mean, it's so vast out here that why did you put the water here but you didn't put it over there? So obviously somebody's telling them where they're coming through. So we follow them basically just by looking at the tire tracks when we're driving out on the dirt roads, and if we see what we call soccer mom tire tracks, we know that it's the water droppers. So we follow those tracks, and then we'll find their vehicle, and then we find the trail, we'll follow them out. We ran into this group of women that were dropping water, and they said, "Oh my God, you're the ones that killed the women and children." And we looked at them, started laughing, and then I looked at them and said, "Well, if that's the case, you got about 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And we just laughed and just kept walking.
You know, again, it's people like you and the veterans that you work with, the former law enforcement and veterans in your organization at Arizona Border Recon, that are taking matters into their own hands with your own. You know, you have very limited fundraising ability because you're just so silenced. It's very difficult for you to get messaging out. Shows like this and others are helping you. But again, Arizona is unique that you can do this kind of work There's your AZ Border Vets website, by the way. We definitely want to put that up there and give you a little exposure there, AZBR Vets. But that's
our nonprofit that we started because with Arizona Border Recon, the vets that were coming in were saying, you know what, you've given us a purpose. You've given us, and I've had,
right.
6 of my guys tell me that we saved their life by doing what they know how to do, what they've been trained to do. And so we said, well, if we can help a few, why can't we help more? So we started AZBR Vets, which is a 501c3 nonprofit. We purchased 10 acres of land, and we're developing it to put little housing on it so we can get veterans out of the city, get more veterans down here.
Yeah, that's what we need. More veterans to take law enforcement into the citizens' hands and defend our country. We had the opportunity when we first met you to meet Johnny Walker, who is a pretty famous, particularly in the military special forces community. He's an Iraqi translator who was adopted by SEAL teams, and through the help of mutual friends got his citizenship. He's still working on behalf of the country to help save Americans all over the place, but he's one of your key people down there on the border, Tim. He's a great guy. So we're, hat tip to the people you assemble. I want to move down to Mike and Joe in Texas, because, the calamity that is unfolding down there. Again, law enforcement into the citizens' hands means people who live on the border, right, gentlemen, have to actually stand to post themselves. It's difficult for Tim to bring a group over there because it's all privately owned land, and it runs into a whole host of issues. Is there anything brewing that either one of you can tell us about in terms of, former law enforcement officials coming together to try and do anything to defend the border?
Well, actually, there's a county in Texas, and they have a constitutional sheriff there who has several other sheriffs in other counties that are friends, let's just say, and they have put together a website for. I can actually get the website information here. Give me 2 seconds to bring the people together to try to get things done what's right and what's constitutionally, have a vetting process in place. This website's going to need donations. The people, it's called We Defend the People. Defendourborders.org. Defendourborders.org. So that's Kinney County Sheriff's Department is trying to put together a group of individuals who are willing to help. They have 6 deputies there and a sheriff. 6. And the amount of people coming through is 1,000 times what they have in people. And so you guys can imagine these cartel know that they're shorthanded. So there's been a lot of fraudulent phone calls for response. So they'll call the police department, say, we got something going on over here. Those officers dispatch to those areas. And when they're there, they're not where they need to be. So there's only 6 people there. They're getting bailouts every day. They're getting torn up farms and ranches, and the people are, we just had a town hall with Ken Paxton, our attorney general, and I got a chance to have a cowboy roundtable with Ken Paxton. And by all means, I think the man's doing right things by Texas. They've sued the Biden administration 27 times. That's great. But in that town hall, I stood up and I said, but litigation's not going to stop a bullet. And what's happening right now, these farmers and these ranchers and these people are living in their homes in fear, and they're all fed up. And there's ranch protections units rising up left and right. People are starting to get TCLO licenses so that they can protect ranches. So people are going through the proper legal and law enforcement agencies to get the proper licensing to do ranch protection. We're starting to see that. Just this morning before I got on with you guys, I have groups of individuals who have come together to start their own organizations to protect the border, and they're calling people from El Paso to Corpus Christi. And they're getting all these groups of individuals that want to do the same thing to come together. And my advice to anybody doing this, you've got to do it legally, and you've got to take the right steps, because what they're hoping for is for one person to shoot the bullet at the wrong time so that they can take our arms from us. That's what they're wanting to do. They're waiting for that. So we do have organizations trying to do it. There's a vetting process that's in place. And I just want to tell everybody, if you want to know more information about that, go to defendourborders.org. Help Texas, because Texas needs it. In this county, if we can get it done right with one county, we can get it done right with all of them.
Well, that certainly is one way to defend our country is, again, it's this we the people mentality. Joe Cruz, you're in Texas also. As a precinct chair, we're wearing two hats here, right? You've got your Texas United Save the Republic social media on Telegram, where a lot of great information is being, transferred. But you're also worrying about the voting demographic. And as a conservative, the dilution of our voting demographic is clearly coming in with these millions of people making it across the border right now. What has you more concerned, 2022, the election, or actually shoring up the border right now and stopping the inflow?
Both, because if you don't shore up the election process, nothing else matters, because your votes aren't going to count and they're going to get their way anyway. The border, ever since that day I think it was January 21st when Biden said that he was reversing all of Trump's policies, with the next breath he said that he was going to order the Census Bureau to count these people in the census so that they can get representation. Well, he's just flagging it right there. He's telling you exactly what he's going to do. He's going to use these people to redistrict. So, to me, if I was, Greg Abbott, I'd see that message. I'd say, okay, well, that's what he's going to do. I'm going to have to do something. I'm going to have to shut this down. And he hasn't done it in 9 months. So that's very telling right there to me, and it's very disturbing. Is
Governor Abbott living up to what your expectations of the governor of Texas should be doing?
No, not at all. Not at all. From what I've seen, no. The last time, like I said, when I was down at the border, Abbott was crowing about sending all the National Guard that he was sending down there, which I think now number about 3,500. But when I went there in Roma, I was observing the Guard actually communicating with the cartel and helping offload people from the rafts in the river and putting them on U.S. soil so that they wouldn't get their feet wet. So they were actually facilitating these people coming in. That was extremely disturbing.
Does this run counterintuitive to what we believe, that with the deployment of the National Guard that we would actually get protection so that people would not be coming across the border, or were we misled?
Of course it is. Of course it is. And to be honest with you,
it's political theater.
Exactly. I'm not going to hold the individual guardsmen responsible because they're doing what they're told. And the people that are coming over, a lot of them are just looking for a better life, and I understand that. And if you're given the chance, you're going to take it. I hold our political leadership for allowing that to happen. They're the ones that are responsible for this. So, and the fact that it's been 9 months and they haven't done anything, that tells you all you need to know. When Abbott says I'm putting a wall of steel, and he brings 450 DPS cars, lines them up, has the lights all going, so you think, oh, that looks great. He's stopping everything. But those 450 cars were spread out across the border before. Now they're in one spot and the rest of the border is open. and Real America's Voice News was filming all the pickup trucks coming with the bales of drugs just flying right through the border.
So
Yeah, they
We
actually
have
had to
the-
close checkpoints.
wow.
Go ahead.
We
Tim.
have the same problem here with Governor Ducey. You know, he was going to put the National Guard on, did the same political theater BS. And the National Guard I saw was weed whacking at the checkpoints and cleaning the outhouses and things, picking up trash. And I was, so
And
it's all just
the week after I was
publicity.
there, there was film of one of the gun trucks on the Mexico side opening fire with a 50 cal onto the U.S. side,
That's
and there was zero response from us.
of course.
And
That's
it was a race from the media, wasn't it, Joe? It's like it didn't happen. The media said nothing. And I mean, they're shooting at our National Guard. That is an act of terrorism. And there was a shooting yesterday. Yesterday there was a shooting. Not anywhere to be found. Not anywhere to be found. But I want to tell you guys one more thing. Go ahead.
This is what needs to happen, and this is what the governor needs to do, and he needs to do it now or yesterday, actually. Send the entirety of the Guard with the mission to shut that border. Whatever DPS assets that we have available, sheriff's deputies up here in the north, we have sheriffs. They have a sharing arrangement program where to perform interdiction services, they'll share deputies from one county to another. We can do that at the border as well, so you don't have to decimate the entire sheriff's department. Just send 1 or 2 deputies from each sheriff's office down there to help with that. Then they need to deputize as many people, vets, retired law enforcement, and fill up those holes. Seize U.S. federal income taxes in Texas, use that money to rebuild the border, and then hold and shut down the legal entryways to commercial traffic to choke Mexico and force them to cooperate with us and shut the border down and take control back from the cartel.
This
Without
is
those
huge.
things, it's just not going to happen.
That's huge, Joe. I've never heard anybody say seize federal income taxes from Texas citizens to actually use to defend the border.
Sure.
That's the first time I've ever heard that. Is that
I
legal?
think
You can do
they're
that?
not doing their job. We're paying them for not doing their job. It's like the border wall. We're paying the construction companies to not build the wall.
I know it's $5 million a day to not build a wall, but Joe, is that legal? Can we actually seize people's income tax money that they would ordinarily send to the?
That would definitely open up a big can of worms and put Texas in the crosshairs of the federal government. I'm sure it would, but it's also sending a message. I mean, listen? The last time I was down there, I had 2 little old ladies in their late 60s, early 70s come up to me and say, "Joe, when are we going to take our rifles down to the border?" 2 little old ladies.
So what is it? What does it say when you have a recently nationalized citizen by the name of Johnny Walker, codename Johnny Walker, come to this country and now he's down fighting not only to defend our border, but he's also fighting to help save American citizens out of Afghanistan. I mean, this is. We were with him. Here he is, right here, down in Arizona. We're gonna watch this video. We'll come right back and we'll comment on this because this is where we are right now, America. We're depending on foreign nationals who have now become American citizens to defend our own border. Let's take a look. We'll come back. Johnny, what's the terrain like here compared to Iraq, Afghanistan?
I can't talk about Iraq. There is nothing. There is no border. That's why we are fucked in Iraq. That's why terrorists, drugs, name it, came from every direction to Iraq. And that's why we have chaos until now, because we don't have that vision. Before you protect it from inside, you protect it from outside. And instead of we jump 1,000 miles for our national security, this is our national security. But there is funny, amazing things about American dignity. You can see it over there. If you look at it, you see going up to the mountain, it's easy if they cut it to the half and they put bod, American dignity. This is our soil, our soil. We taking it no matter how much we spend money. This is make me fucking proud.
That's right.
That's fucking crazy feeling, like you feel it, like I'm important.
If you're someone trying to cross the border before the wall's here, is that a difficult crossing point?
Look at it. They can escape from the mountain. You know what I mean? And there's thousand reasons to cross the border, like
Right.
hunting, sieging, name it. You know what I mean?
So it would have been easier to take the wall in front of the mountain, but because that's American soil, they said, no,
Yes.
we're not giving up an
We're-
inch.
Nothing.
Right.
Yes.
We're taking all of it
We
back.
fucking pay blood for our freedom.
That's right.
And now it's not kind of big deal to pay money to keep our soil. So this is American dignity over there.
Watch yourselves.
Yeah, so that was Johnny Walker back in when we shot a documentary down there last year called 26 Miles. And that was actually where they're building the wall. And as you can see from the terrain, extremely inhospitable. I mean, it's difficult enough for a goat or a human to climb up there, but now you're putting machinery up there trying to build the wall. And, you know, again, an incredible effort by the people that got this done. Thank you, President Trump. And then, of course, another sabotage, $5 million a day, is it a day that we're not spending, or we're spent, I should say, to not complete the wall. The money has been set aside, billions is set aside and not being used properly. So, Tim, can you give us a comment on that? Because you live there and you know exactly where that is and where the wall just stopped getting built.
Yeah, it's sad to say. I mean, they carved all the way to the top of that mountain. They flattened it out, and the fence gets to the bottom of it, and Biden pulled the plug. That's one of our big holes in that area. We have 17 miles of fence by us, and in that 17 miles of fence, there's probably 18 holes in it where now you'll see it when you in this video where they have all the panels stacked up because Biden was getting ready to shut it down, and they stacked the panels in front of some of the holes so that they couldn't so they couldn't get through. But last month, Biden pulled all those panels and it's hanging wide open again. I mean, where the fence is, nobody crosses because it's too damn tall. But now they have 18 holes in it in 17 miles. So they're pouring through all over the place.
This is just such a travesty. You know, Joe,
Yeah.
if you're sitting down there and you're taking, like Mike's going to take a delegation, and it's taken many delegations down to the border, and you're seeing this, what are the you know, between you two, what are the most commonly asked questions or statements made by people that are actually witnessing this now? Because occasionally some people like Fox News will cover the masses of people that are assimilating down to the border, but they're not telling the story for what it really is. So what are you hearing from people that are showing up down there to see this with their own eyes?
They're blown away. I mean, there's a lot of massive cover-up that's taken. So the last time I took some dignitaries down there, I recovered these. And I want everybody to know, people don't just throw their cell phones away. Our U.S. government is making them throw their cell phones away at the border. And there's a reason. They're documenting their journey on these phones. I recovered these phones to find out that there's children lined up like inventory in here. There's other burner phones, like a phone like this might be the last phone that they had, but this phone here was in perfect condition before Border Patrol smashed it. They didn't want me to get information out of it. Well, where they're screwed is the phone still works. The screen's just broken. So I'm going to wipe that phone too. There's drop points. So these phones they caught on part of their journey, and there's actually map coordinates on these. And there's images of big places where they're all hanging out. So we're getting forced mandates in the United States. We're getting forced inoculations if you have a company, 100 people or more. And what I'm telling you is this. They have a plan of how to make America sicker. They want mass genocide. Whether anybody wants to believe it or not, they want it. All these illegal immigrants are being housed in giant warehouses on their way here. They're making them take their mask off. They're exposing them together to create mass sickness. And Joe probably has seen it in Hidalgo. The garbage cans full of blister packs of medicine, tons of cough syrup, tons of things to try to get healthy because they're so sick. Coughing, yakking, messing themselves. And then the kids are super sick. Well, they're busing them on these NGO buses to all the red states. And there's these organizations, as you guys saw that one image, Catholic Charity has posted a banner at the border there in Hidalgo stating, if you need to contact your family members, contact Catholic Charities. This area, it's saying it's temporary closed. It's a park. This would be a place where local citizens would go and hang out. It's beautiful out there. But it's now became a passageway for illegal immigrants to come through here. These Catholic charities are getting federal grants. They're busing these people. They're giving them money, debit cards. The federal government's feeding them this information. When the 12,000 Haitians were underneath the bridge, the federal government was giving a grant to the Border Patrol agencies to go to local barbecue restaurants. And my disclosure is I love Rudy's Barbecue, by the way. But Rudy's Barbecue got an order for 15,000 tacos. And I asked them where this money's coming from. Well, you got to think they have to feed 12,000 people 3 times a day.
Unbelievable.
So 15,000 tacos isn't even enough to feed them a meal. So all the local restaurants in that town, a lot of them had to close just to meet the demands of what the federal agencies needed to feed these people. Well, then they're from a foreign country and they don't eat those flavors. They were very disappointed. So they were throwing their barbecue in the river. They were throwing their food on the ground. They were very ungrateful that we were actually trying to feed them. They wished the menu was better. We heard these stories. And so everybody, the dignitaries I take down there, blown away that this is something that this government's allowing to happen. The term that's said the most is lawless. A lot of lawlessness is taking place. That Joe Biden is orchestrating the largest crimes in history. And if President Trump was to even do half of this stuff that he has done, they would have already ran him out of office.
Yeah.
And
This
so
is-
They've been locked up for war crimes.
yeah, and war
humanity.
crimes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. He's allowing this. I did a post, and I hope you guys can find it on my page and share it off of Facebook. I spent hours taking every single thing that Biden has done with in regards to sex trafficking, rape cases, murder, lost jobs, lost hope in America. Businesses have been broken into by smugglers who wreck their vehicles into the side while trying to flee. Death in America, death of soldiers. Afghanistan getting $85 billion in resources handed into them. Christians being slayed. All this stuff is happening on his watch, and nobody's doing anything about it.
That's
And
right.
at our border, everybody's eyes are on Del Rio, but we have Roma, Hidalgo, La Jolla, and what's happening, the cartels are learning that we know where they're coming through. Now they're just going through cornfields. And there's a video on my Facebook. It's long. It's like an hour. But we saw 20 kids run across the highway. Little kids. And the speed limit's 65. This is 3 a.m. in the morning, by the way. The cartel was standing back there, armed and dangerous, waiting for a car to come by. Well, we didn't know they were there. We stopped and we go, Donde Eres? And they said, Honduras. They're telling us they're from Honduras. And then Juan said, Mike, they have thermals. They raised their guns up, and we could see the light from the thermoscopes. They were looking to see who we were. We gassed it and got out of there. But they were moving them through a cornfield because in downtown La Jolla, Cruz knows this. They bring them into a ball field there, and they process them there. They are moving through the entire area.
But
The cartel has control of the border.
That's what I'm saying. What's disconcerting is, and I know this down in Arizona, we've conceded 26 miles of the border on this side, on the United States side, to the cartels because well, frankly, the UN owns it anyway. I mean, this is UN designated property. It's like an easement, if you will. It's crazy what we've allowed to happen in this country. The United Nations needs to be kicked out of our country immediately because they're a big reason why this is going down right now. It's all the NGOs that flow through the United Nations. It's just diabolical what's happening. Gentlemen, this has been extremely enlightening. I just want to go around the horn in 15 seconds or less. I want to hear from each of you. We'll start with Tim and then go to Joe and then close with Mike. What you want to see happen. Tim, go.
I want to see it secure so I can do something else with the rest of my life, but I don't think that's ever going to happen. I think I'm going to end up dying down here from old age.
Let that be old. Very old. Unhonoring.
Well, I'm already 62, so, but
You're still
I'm
a
not
kid.
stopping.
You're still a kid.
Yeah.
All right, Joe, what do you want to see happen?
I've already told you, I want to see him shut it down. I want to see him send whatever assets that Texas has at its disposal. I want to see him put the federal government on notice, whether it's taking the money and holding on to it until they do their damn job, And I want to see them hold Mexico to account as well, because they're just as guilty in this, because they're actually being run by the cartel. The Mexican government is run by the cartel, so, and everybody knows it. So if we shut down the commercial traffic, that'll force them to the table.
Fair enough. Joe Cruz. I'm sorry, Joe Cruz. Mike Miller finishes out.
So, same thing. I'd like to see the border secured. I would like to see the money that's been given by private funding groups, millionaires, billionaires, who wanted to secure our border. That money was given to the federal government, and it was actually for the purpose of securing the border. Secure the border. I would like to see a crackdown on child sex trafficking. I'd like to see organizations that can come together, arrest these people, and declare them as terrorists, and arrest them for crimes against humanity. Get them the justice that needs to be done for these families and these children into rehab, and get them, a position where they can have a better quality of life. These children right now are locked up in cages in places. They're being used for sex trade. They're being used for adrenochrome. It needs to stop. I'd like to see something like Operation Talon be reinforced again. Just like when Trump was out there, we were seeing hundreds of kids rescued and all these different break-in stash houses, whatnot. I'd like to see that happen again. And I'd also like to see, like Joe said, our foreign trade needs to be held at a stop, and they need to start enforcing what they can do on their side, because Mexico's allowing this to happen.
Yeah.
And if they had a little bit of a stress on their wallet, I have a feeling they would be working with us a little better.
I think money always talks. President Trump saw to it, and he proved that point by renegotiating every trade deal we had, starting with, of course, the TPP and NAFTA. Those two things were obliterated, and he started over again, and it brought these countries into a more realistic framework on doing business with the United States. And, of course, it also contributed to the discontinuation of these endless wars. He ended them through trade. It was absolutely brilliant strategy. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time this evening. Really appreciate all the work that you're doing. You're incredible human beings. We will have links to all of your social media and websites in the description box on our Rumble account as well. So if you're watching this anywhere else, if you go to rumble.com, or if you go to our website, steeltruth.com, and you click on the video, it will take you to Rumble, and you can find in the description box links to all of their social media contact information. Thank you so much.
Thank you.